and we'll go back to the rest of the dice. So also received from the op this Harry Potter House Cup competition. This is for ages 11 and up for 2 to 4 players. That plays in about 75 minutes. Now, this game I actually have played once because Chelsea also has a copy of this, and so I ended up playing it before I got to open this copy. But that means I can talk about it as I open it as well. So in this game, because of the 4 cups of Harry Potter, you choose to play as one of the houses as you play, and you're essentially earning points for your house, and you're trying to get either Gryffindor or Slytherin or Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff to win the most points. So if you think about the books and the movies where different things you do as part of class or whatever it may be can earn you 10 points for Ravenclaw or whatever it may be, you actually earn points for your house in this game. So let's see how it unboxes. So, oh, interesting. I don't know if that was supposed to come off or just the way they... Okay, I'm going to take a look at this box real quick. So I think there's actually a extra cardboard sleeve around this outer edge of the box. I don't think it's necessarily supposed to come off, even though there is printing under it on the main part of the box. So it's kind of interesting. I just felt that, like, an extra board sleeve all the way around it. So right in the top, we have our rule book. Now this rule book is a little bit heftier than the last game we opened, just because there's more rules to it. It's not for a younger audience. It does start at ages 11 and up, so it takes a little bit more to learn. But we start with a quick overview of the game, all the different contents. Tells you what you should expect to find. Object of the game, how you individually set up, because each player picks one of the houses and then what they get as being part of that house. Because you actually have, it's a kind of a worker style placement style game. Yep, more of a game, more rules, exactly. Walks you through setup, the how to play, describing the different parts of a card, the different phases of a game, what the different icons look like and what they mean. Next phase, challenges, because there's different challenges in the game you can complete for points. Like moving on between rounds into the game, what triggers it, some additional tips and information. And then it actually has details on every card in the game, and then kind of detailing them out. So if you have questions, you can look that up. And then detailing out what each space does. So because on the main board, it's just going to have the top part with the icons. It's not actually going to say it out in text. So having this in the rulebook as well is helpful. And then, of course, explaining different location cards that come into play if they're used. Because a lot of these cards you're not going to see every game because they're random in what you use. And then detailing those out. We got our credits page. Champion, so if you're so inclined to every time you play write down kind of who won or which house won, you can write that down if you wanted to. Just kind of pulls in the thematics of the game, and that looks like it's going into and talking about all the other Harry Potter products that they offer. So let's shove that to the side and we'll start looking at the game board stuff. I'm going to open up the main board. We'll see if it fits on camera today. It's a little bit bigger than I have my camera set for today. Top of the board, we got general name of the game, of course, and then it kind of starts to break down different sides and sections of the board. So left side of the board right here, we have space for decks of cards, lesson decks, both basic and advanced. You're going to be flipping those up during the game down this banner, so you can draw from like face-up ones essentially. The right side is where the challenge card decks are going to end up going. where from easy and hard challenges, these are essentially the main ways you're going to score points throughout the game, completing challenge cards. Now, in the middle of the board and then coming towards the bottom, we'll do it right here, make it easiest to see. So we have the professor's office, we have the library, and the classrooms. Now, all of these locations are worker placement spots where you can send one of your housemates to go study or do something. So each player will be using and controlling 3 of the students from their house to go study and increase their knowledge in certain areas. And so, for example, if you go over to the professor's office, you get 2 of the hats, versus if you go to the library, you get books and different stuff. So throughout, you can get symbols like these, and so you have like the scrolls, and so like the scroll stuff over here that's picking up more lessons. You got the trophy over here for challenges. So that's how you end up picking up cards. You're both getting resources and you're picking up cards depending on where you go. Down at the classrooms, you're enabling yourself to increase a level in one of the different classes, which I'll show off on the boards as we get to those. We have spots for different classroom cards, which will be revealed as the rounds advance. So in the same way that the books and the movies kind of progress through 7 years of learning, we have 7 rounds of learning in this game, where certain rounds we actually reveal more classrooms, which enable more worker placement spots for you to go to. So the way they've integrated that and the theming from the stories is actually feels well done in this game. It's not hastily thrown together. It seems balanced in the way they've set that up. Some of these spots also say 4 players or 3+ players. So depending on the number of players you have, some of these spots may not be open and available to go to. So like most worker placement spots, if you need to adjust how many spots are available based on player count, which works really well. Okay, so next up we've got some, looks like we've got some punch board stuff going on here. So let's take a look at those real quick. So right here we're going to be punching out the house cup display, is the best way to put it. And I'll show you how that all assembles as well. Seems to be punching quite easily. That even with those strips in there, popped out pretty easily. You're not having hanging tabs on any of these yet. And then all these circles right here are also the students that you use. These are falling and punching out very easily. Very little pressure to get those out, which is nice, so you don't have to risk tearing them. And then you have like first player token type stuff here as well. That's one board, and our second board is going to be the rest of the display. You saw like I barely touched those 4 circles and they popped right out. This is going to have to slide a little bit because of those straight edges fitting in there, because we will actually assemble this display as shown on here. And so it does have written instructions how to assemble it, which is nice. And as you can see, there's smaller slits you'll have to punch as well, which you can use one of these excess circles to get into that gap. And those seem to be sliding right out, no issue. Nothing's catching or tearing. Sales were okay at the show. PAX U is one of those conventions that's more about playing and demoing versus selling. So we did not sell out what we took, unfortunately. But like the first day, it just felt off. Like it seemed that everyone on Friday experienced a really I don't want to say bad day, just a really slow day for sales. Like when other booths kind of questioning like what was going on. But then, because it was the first day, there was less people there. More people were kind of going around, hey, I want to just learn games today. And then Saturday, there was more people. Sales picked up drastically, and it felt like by lunchtime, we had already sold as much as we did on Friday. So Saturday was definitely a lot better, and kind of really picked up everything for us. But yeah, sales were a little wonky this year, and not necessarily what we hoped for. But then again, coming off of all the pandemic stuff, it's close to Christmas. Everyone's budgets are kind of wonky, not knowing what they can or can't spend. It throws everything off. Just because of the COVID stuff and people's jobs, spending money has been limited this year for a lot of people. So being able to sell, especially as a smaller company, is a little bit harder to do. But of course, it's hard to get your name out there and market and sell stuff if you're not going to have a booth. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s that you need a booth to sell and attempt to sell, but if you don't, you also can't make money. So overall, Weird Giraffe Games didn't do too bad. We got to sell a new game that just came shipped to Kickstarter backers within the past year, or not year, sorry, past month. A game that shipped to Kickstarter backers. And then we also were really trying to push a game that technically came out last year during pandemic, and so we hadn't really got to show it off at a convention yet. So our premiere game for Weird Giraffe Games was Studies in Sorceries. That was the one that just shipped to Kickstarter backers. It's kind of a engine building style game with a little bit of drafting and kind of material management, and that you're studying. Kind of the funny thing is, it's actually studying at a school of like sorcery type stuff, trying to get your degree in darkness. And so that was our premiere one, and then of course we're also showing off Big Easy Busking, which is about playing on the streets of New Orleans as a band trying to earn tips. So, which has a little bit of area control, and you're managing the energy of your bands. And of course, we showed off some of the other games. But hopefully, coming early next year, a lot of the games that were on Kickstarter this year, like Gift of Tulips and Wicked and Wise, will start coming out, and those will actually kick up sales again as well. Oh, it's, yeah, Big Easy Busking. Yeah, it has a really cool theme and very interesting. It just, because it's one of those small, mid-sized games, it doesn't catch everyone's attention. So it's just working to find the best way to market the games as well. Yeah, definitely can't wait on Wicked and Wise. We had a lot of people asking to see the demo copy, because we had a demo copy available to show off, which was great. And then because we were doing pre-orders on that, so we still have pre-orders of Wicked and Wise and Gift of Tulips available. So I definitely recommend both of those. So those will be our big hits come next year at conventions. So while I was talking, I've been assembling this little display thing, which I knew what I was doing because I've actually helped assemble this before. As long as I can, as long as you're gentle with it, it goes together quite smoothly. And this will be important to show off what I'm about to pull out of the box next. As you can see, right now it's on its back. It actually stands up like this. So just trying to show it off. Kind of sits on the table where you can see everything. Because in the game, there are actually these essentially vials. They're plastic, not glass, so you don't have to worry about them breaking. But they actually sit into this display during the game. And then you take out the corks, and this is actually what you use to track points as you play, because there'll be pieces that you drop into these tubes. or vials. And then the corks are used so you can actually store the pieces and the vials when you pack everything away. So I'll try to get a kind of looks like that, but standing on the table, of course, so you kind of place it at the top of the board with all of the point crystals, which we'll get to in a moment. Let's see if I can find them. Might as well pull those out now. So each house has a set of these plastic gems / crystals that, as you earn points in the game for your house, at the end of each round you can earn points based on what you complete, and you drop them into the corresponding vial. So we like to play because you have the house banners behind each vial. You have the Gryffindor, the Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin. You can drop the colored gems. Yeah, the gems look really nice. And then especially when they drop into the tubes. So it's fun to kind of see them and hear them drop in. Hey, I got points. But then as they build up in the tube, it actually kind of mimics that feeling from the books and the movies of the houses earning points, and everyone in the Great Hall can see those points adding up. I'm going to put most of these in here, and you can kind of see how it starts to look in the... It'd help if I didn't drop it behind the tube. We'll kind of show how it starts to look near the end of the game when you have a lot of points in this tube. And just the look of it as you play is so clever, and what they've done to set this up, and kind of just adds to the theme and drawing you in to the gameplay. Going to get any games in this weekend? Are you talking about, like, did I order any games? Am I buying any games, or am I going to play something this weekend? Just make sure I'm reading the question correctly. As far as buying games, there's not currently anything slated that I'm going to go pick up. But you're going to get to play some cribbage. Nice. But as far as playing games, I'm probably going to try to play some of these games I'm opening, because later I'll be opening the expansion to Lost Ruins of Arnak, which Lost Ruins has solo mode, so I'll probably get that to the table. One of the last unboxing streams I did also included games from the op, which I unboxed Goonies, the Coded Chronicles one. Oh yeah, Wavelength shouldn't be that hard to get people to play. Especially because the player count is so versatile for Wavelength. Being able to play that should be easy. But yeah, I'm going to probably try out the Coded Chronicles, Goonies, what was it? The Search for One-Eyed Willie's Treasure, whatever. I'll have to verify the name of that, but it's one of those kind of mystery solving type style games. Yeah, it's been a long time since I got to watch Goonies, so probably need to find a way to rewatch it as well, and then really enjoy the theme of playing the game. Because I know I can play that solo. Yeah, this weekend if I play anything, it's going to be more solo stuff and relaxing, because I've had so many weekends of either being out of town or other plans, and with the holidays coming up, a lot of family stuff going on next weekend, and then New Year's after that. It'll be kind of one of the few weekends I have to relax for a while. So I'll probably make sure I take the time to relax and take care of myself, because personal health is just as important as spending time with family and friends. So yeah, you can see just how cool this starts to look once all of those gems get into the tubes. Just the way the light hits it, and then they stack up, and as people have different number of points, you can kind of just see the levels rise and fall. But just because they sit slightly uneven in there, if a couple people look at the same level, you're gonna have to pour them out and count them at the end to really see who's actually the winner. So it's cool to see how that worked in the game. Okay, and then next we got the player boards. So we got one board for each house. So for example, here we have this Slytherin one. There's actually going to be 3 student names on here. Typically well-known student names from the books and movies that we all kind of know. And then slots for 3 different types of classes. We have the potions, charms, and then defense class on each one. You're going to end up with a slider, one of these pieces that's going to fit into each one of these slots. And so it's slated. You kind of have the house cup symbol on them, the little slotted edge on them, so it fits right into that slot. You're going to put that in each one, so everyone's going to start at level 1, and then as you play the game, you can level up your knowledge in those classes and mark if you're level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 in that. And so there's enough of those markers for 3 students that each have 3 each in every single house. So no need to dump all these. But Slytherin, we have Draco Malfoy, Vincent Crabbe, and Gregory Doyle. Those are the main 3 students. Next up we have Ravenclaw with Luna Lovegood, Cho Chang, and Padma Patil. Now, I am a Ravenclaw. Not just because it's a raven, because I'm bird, but because I enjoy blue, but I've taken the online test, as a lot of us have, and ended up I'm Ravenclaw. Just that's the type of person and student I am. I'm very more that studious style as opposed to a Gryffindor. I probably have a bit of Gryffindor in me, but it's more the Ravenclaw. But for Gryffindor, we definitely have Harry, we definitely have Hermione, and we have Ron. And then last but not least, we have the Hufflepuffs of Cedric Diggory, Zacharias Smith, and Hannah Abbott. Now the funny thing is, we were playing this, and one of my friends was like, "Wait, who are these people from Ravenclaw? Because they're not quite as famous." So you haven't taken the test, but nieces and nephews have. Yeah, fair enough. I grew up on Harry Potter. My grandparents were buying me the books from book number 1, and so I remember the last book came out around the time I was finishing high school and getting ready to go to college. And I think that was the only one I bought, was the very last book. And so just growing up and recognizing all of the characters before they made into movies was interesting to see. And I understand there's a lot of controversy with the author and things she has said lately, but a lot of people have connected closely with Harry Potter and grew up with it, so I can see why it's still a popular IP to be releasing. And I will say that the way they integrated the theming and the play style of this game works really well. So I could see them easily taking this mechanic to a different IP as well at some point with some minor tweaks, but it does work really well with this theme. I'll give it that. And then part of the resources you collect during the game, the hats and the books, I'd have to look up and verify the names that they use for them. It's like knowledge and something else. It's a little odd that they sent this in like one of the, almost like a resealable envelope style bag. But these are already punched. Chipboard, kind of thin, a bit thinner than the other board that we punched, but they work well. It's a resource that you use to track how many you have, because you earn them and then you also spend them for certain challenges and such. But we'll be able to put separate those and put those into the other Ziplocs that the gems used to be in, because we'll be able to store the gems corked in those vials now, which is nice. And then we have card decks. So first I'll open the square cards. As usual, we check these. Do they have a quick release tab? They do not. They don't have that tear line in the plastic. And so you have to find a way to tear this plastic without cutting the cards. Now, fortunately, my set right here, the plastic is somewhat split along the seam, so I can actually grab and start to tear already without having to take a knife to it. There's no guarantee your set will, so just be mindful when you open these to be careful. And so these are actually going to be classroom location cards. So if you look on the back of these, they have a certain number of whatever that icon shape is, 3, 2, and 1. So during each game you play, you're going to randomly take one from each of these, and you start with one of them up here face up, and then taking 2 of the level 2s that get revealed as you level up, and the last one will be a 3. There are reference cards turn order on one side, icon reference on the back, which is very helpful there in the game. So the hats are magic and the books are knowledge. Let's take a quick look at what these classrooms do. So these are actually additional worker placement spots. So we have like the burrow. If you go there, you can level up, and you can also gain some magic help. So as you go to the burrow, you're learning more magic because it's a very magic centric family. They're always performing magic, so there's always something to learn magic based. Maybe you end up at number 4 Privet Drive, where you choose another student to gain a level up. So while you're stuck there, another student is taking time to learn something. Or maybe you make your way to number 12 Grimald Place, where you would have to discard a what style of card is that? That's going to be one of the lesson cards. And then when you do that, from your hand, you would redraw the same amount plus 1, so it kind of gives you a chance to learn something different or new. Or maybe just go into platform 9 3/4 to level up and get a challenge of some sort. You never know what's going to happen at the train station. So those are the level 1 cards. You only end up using one of those per game. These circles on here represent placing a student there. Now looks like some of these also have looks like all 3 of these have a symbol connected with them. If you see on the board, some of them just show a person. Some of them also show an additional resource symbol. So these cards currently are showing additional resource symbol. So it means when you go there, you have to spend a resource to then gain the additional things from there. Let's take a look at the level 2 spot locations. We have Honeydukes, where if you spend some magic and knowledge, you actually get 2 levels up. So sometimes it's more beneficial to not learn something at school, but to learn something outside of school, which we know Fred and George did a lot of. We have the Shrieking Shack, gain a level in 2 different subjects. We have the Quality Quidditch Supplies, replace any or all face-up challenge cards and gain a challenge. We have the Gringotts Bank. You go there and you get a lot of knowledge. Basically, you're grabbing a lot of resources at once. The Weasley's Wizard Wheezes. That's a tongue twister. Choose any student to gain 2 levels in the highest class it has. We have the 3 Broomsticks. We can learn a decent amount of magic there. Of course, Ollivanders with the wands If empty at the start of a round, 2 magic there, otherwise 1 magic. Gain all magic when you go there. So that's one of those spots. If no one's going there, there's continually going to be more magic added there. Because Ollivanders is full of magic, of course. The Leaky Cauldron, it's same style, but you're doing knowledge there instead of magic. If empty at the start of the round, 3 knowledge, otherwise 2 knowledge added to it. And then if you go there, you gain all the knowledge on it. Because there's a lot of gossip going on, so that's the new knowledge. The Flourish and Bolts has a little bit of almost everything in that you gain some magic and you gain some lesson cards as well, of both basic and advanced. If you go to Ilops, Owl, and Port, make sure I read that one right. You have some magic and then just straight up points. So this is the first time we've seen the points thing. So it's going to say like 10 gem. So for the points, basically a 10 gem is a single gem piece. So every gem you drop into the vial is kind of as 10 points. So to mimic the books and the movies, it's hundreds of points by the end of the game. So that one would just straight up give you points if you went there along with some more magic. Now we're going to take a look at the 3 locations. These start to open up and give a couple of options. So Nocturn Alley, you have the choice of going to get any 3 knowledge or magics, kind of a mix and match of 3 total. Here you can get some lessons and challenges. The numbers here basically mean you need, whatever student goes there needs to be at least a level 5 in something. The Ministry of Magic, you have the choices of some challenge stuff or some lessons with straight up points. 20 gem means take 2 gems, drop it in the vial. Malfoy Manor, you could attempt a challenge alone, like basically just a straight up do an extra challenge during a round, because typically you can only complete so many challenges per round or turn or year. So that can be helpful for getting points, or just straight up take some points. Then Godric's Hollow, a lot of magic, a lot of knowledge, or challenges and points again. Okay, so let's take a look at the challenge and lesson cards now. So again, this does not have a quick release pull tab on it, but the bright side is this plastic is very loose. As you can see, I'm holding it by the plastic, so that does give you a little bit of leeway if you have to take scissors or a knife to this, if it won't tear just straight up, which I may have to do anyway. But it does mean I don't have to cut across the edge of the cards. I can get a knife in there and keep the blade away from the cards. So these are smaller cards. These are not full-size cards, but there's going to be multiple decks in here as well. So we're going to split up the decks by the back. We talked about the location of different things. We have what's called advanced lessons. We have basic lessons. See how big this deck is. Decent amount of those. We have our hard challenges that have the trophy on the back, and then easy challenges which have essentially a ribbon medal. So on one side of the board, we're going to be seeing the lessons. There's more basics because you're going to go through those faster. So these essentially allow you to basically, if you have a total level of something and spend something, you're going to gain something of some sort, typically. So this is if you have a character totaling up to 4 level in their potions plus spend that, then you gain 2 knowledge and another level. So some of those, that's a more Tintia. I'm going to screw up some of these names, so forgive me. But like the hair raising potion, you got at least 2 in potions, you can take more lesson cards. The girding potions, sleeping drought, elixir of life. So most of these are going to have only 1 to 2 copies, so there's going to be a lot of different effects from as long as you have meet a certain value of levels in a certain class, that you get a benefit of some sort, either gaining levels or gaining knowledge and magic, or in some are kind of help you chain into other reactions. And so a lot of these are going to say, oh, you need certain levels and very specific classes as well to activate these. But they do also kind of might give you points instead of more resources. So it's a decent variety of things as well. So you never know what's going to come out. So each game is going to feel a little bit different because you won't see all those cards each time. And then the advanced lessons are going to be a little bit harder. The levels of the classes are going to be higher. Now we're looking at like 5s right now instead of like 2s and 3s. But they also give you more stuff. Kind of like takes an extra turn. Because typically you get 3 turns per round with your 3 students of the house. And so getting extra turns and stuff like that can be very helpful. Or maybe someone like this one is like, oh, someone's in a spot you really want to go to. You can move a student or something like that. So finding the right cards at the right time and knowing when to grab these first and utilizing them can be very important because they're extra beneficial. But then those lead you into being able to complete challenges easier, because for the challenges you typically need a sum or collective total level, depending on how many students are attempting a challenge. It could be one of your students or a collective, multiple of them, to meet the total of this, and then you get a benefit of typically levels and points of some sort. So sometimes it's all the different classes, sometimes it's 2 classes that need certain levels. So these are the easy challenges, so they're easier to do at the beginning of the game, of course. So you get points of different varieties. Typically not a huge amount, between 10 to 30. Some give you extra resources as well. So it's just finding the right ones. Each of these are named different, very thematic, from trapdoors, owl posts, evading a Dementor. And so taking the time to just enjoy how deep the theme goes in this whole game is really cool to see what they've done here. And of course, last but not least, we have hard challenges, where the sum total of those classes is going to end up being a lot higher, but you get more resources, you get more points. And so if you're able to find ways that maybe 2 students can team up on this, then one of your students can still complete it easy at the end of a round. Because typically you're limited on how many challenges you can complete in a round. So maybe you've explored the House of Black, or you're joining the Order of the Phoenix, or who doesn't want to cause some mayhem at the Ministry. So it continues the theming. If you really remember the books and the movies well, you'll recognize kind of where a lot of these things stem from, at least. Kind of like, oh, you got to study for the newts, so you got to have tutor things really high because you got to be very studious. So just what they've done to mimic the feel of the books and being at Hogwarts and earning points for your house and getting to play as the different students from those houses is really fun. But the mechanics itself, from worker placement to dropping points into the vials, there's just so many things that are enjoyable about this game. Yeah, the op is definitely doing a lot better. Like, they've grabbed a lot of IPs, of course, but they're making sure the way they integrate the IPs into games isn't just they're not just taking a game and slapping a new theme on it and re-releasing it. Like, of course, you're going to see some of that with like the Monopolies and stuff like that, because the op has those, and that's what sells to the standard public who is not ingrained into the hobby as much as we are. But for someone who, of course, has a lot of games and has played a lot, it's trying to find games that are have a well thought out mechanic is just as important as a good theme nowadays. Yeah, yeah. You're right. In general, IP games are getting a lot better because companies realize you can't just slap an IP on it and say that's it. You have to do due diligence to make sure the game is fun and interesting beyond the theme. So if you like worker placement style games, and you enjoy Harry Potter, this I can easily recommend for you to try. Because like the first Harry Potter game I had was the Hogwarts Battle, the deck building one, which at that point I really enjoyed a good deck builder, but it doesn't feel as ingrained into the theme as this one. Like this one integrates the theming so well, it feels better done as opposed to, oh, I'm just deck building and defeating enemies with spells or people I shouldn't have met yet based on the year. Like it did a good job of like separating the years, but there's still things that weren't perfect about that game. But with how old it is now, you can see the expansions they've done can make it better, more interesting. But I feel every step they've done with this one definitely works really well. And that, yeah, there are certain locations you're not going to visit until certain years. So turning those locations to certain years, certain challenges you can't, or lessons you can't complete until you've done other things. So it does a good job of building on itself. And then, like I said, for storage, all the gem pieces can go into the vials like this. And then this that we built, you don't actually have to disassemble, which is nice. It actually fits down into the box. You can see that this plastic insert is slightly rounded right here. Fits the top of that. Those pieces can still fit there without issue. And then player boards on top of that. Our game board is going to go on top with the rules. And then everything should be safe and sound. Now that box lid is a bit tight compared to other lids, but that just means it's not as likely to open up on its own. We'll do our shake test, but as you can see the way it got put away, it should be pretty safe. Like you can hear how solid that is in there. Like things are not flying around or shifting as easily as we've had plenty of other games do. So in general, if you like worker placement, you like Harry Potter, you like nice components, the op has hit it out of the park with this game. So definitely check it out. Harry Potter House Cup competition, ages 11 and up, 2 to 4 players, plays in about 75 minutes. And then if you're like us, enjoy the theme that much, like we actually turned on Harry Potter in the background and watched the movie as we played the game, just to kind of just fully immerse ourselves in it. So definitely try it out if that interests you.